So far I must say that I'm really enjoying the X-T5. Like, it is a nice camera, but my reservations on it are, am I going to be able to use this camera for, everyday applications? Like, if I want to do kind of like a video like this, am I going to be able to use this camera for that? Or is it just going to be strictly a photo camera? My biggest fear is I'll, buy this camera or keep it or whatever, and set it up on the shelf and only use it, so for certain applications, or just kind of whenever I get bored with my Sony stuff, pull out the Fuji and use it. And this camera is kind of expensive for those kind of applications. You do something like that with the XS10, that's one thing. You get into the XS5, you get into the X-T5, you're kind of getting into a different price point. So it really sorry about that. Really concerns me that that's kind of what's going to be going on with this camera. But I do like it. And I will say that the X-T5 produces one of the best, it's one of the easiest cameras, or Fuji in particular, I guess. It's one of the easiest cameras to get really good colors out of that I've ever had. All I do is I just shoot an F-log and just drop that Fuji LUT over it. It looks great. I mean, how much easier can it get than that? Even with some of the log profiles that I have with the Sony, I have a bunch of LUTs and so on and so forth with my Sony. I drop them over the footage. They're just not exactly what I like. They're just not exactly what I want. They just don't look as good as I think the Fuji does. Now I could go in and do a lot of work to them, probably get them exactly where I want, but I don't want to mess with all that. I just want something super easy. And the Fuji makes it super easy to get good looking colors, good looking footage, just, drag and drop. So today I'm going to be out doing some errands and stuff, and I'm going to use this Fuji, I want to use it just like I would a Sony. No flip screen. I don't know what the audio does or anything. And we're just going to see how it goes. I'm nervous about, getting stuff framed in and everything, but we're just going to do the best we can with it. I think one of the most important aspects about the X-T5 is the body of this camera. To me, it's just about a perfect size for a camera that I'd want to take around every day. Like, it's not too big where it gets overly heavy on you. It's pretty small. It's pretty lightweight, just about the right size. But then it's not too small where heat, becomes a huge factor in the performance of your camera. You can still get good performance out of the camera because it's big enough to just dissipate the heat. When you're shooting 4K 60 and stuff like that. So it's, to me, the perfect size camera for everyday use, for sure. Now, it's not the best feeling camera in the world. Like, you hear people talk about built like a tank. That's not what this camera is. It's definitely not built like a tank. The doors on it, they feel kind of plasticky a little bit cheap, a little bit flimsy, like they're fixing to, break off or something. One hasn't done that yet. I'm just telling you what my honest opinions are. They feel like they're just a little bit weak. The battery door and the microphone door, and the SD card door, they all feel just like they're just on the weak side. The bottom of the camera is plastic. After a lot of use, if you use your camera heavily, that's definitely going to scratch up. There's no doubt about that. The knobs, dials, things like that, they all feel nice, but again, just maybe not as premium as one might expect. But they're kind of trying to cut costs on this camera, and I can understand that. But just to let you know, I wouldn't consider the X-T5 built like a tank by any stretch of the imagination. But it is nice. It's a nice body. If this camera had a flip screen on it, I mean, I wouldn't even be debating whether to keep it or not. I know that might make it a little bit bigger or whatnot, and I understand the reason why Fuji built the camera without a flip screen. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. It's just that if this particular camera had a flip screen, there would be no doubts that I would be keeping it 100%. The XH2S, the XH2, you know, those bodies are just a little bit bigger than what I'm willing to. I just don't want a body that big. I don't want a body that size, that style out of Fuji. It's just not what I'm looking for. And of course, they're bigger to handle the heat of the extra specs. I mean, I get that. So I get why this camera is this size. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, if it had a flip screen, it wouldn't even be a question. This sucker would be right in my bag, no problem. No questions asked. But it don't, so that's why I'm left with this questions. And there's a couple of reasons why, to me, a flip screen is important. Number one is to, of course, frame your shot just how you want it and everything. But that's not really the most important thing to me. The two most important thing is being able to protect your screen when you put your camera away. That's something I've kind of dealt with just here in the, last 30 minutes or so. I've, laid my camera down, not in my camera bag. Well, hopefully it's not laying on anything sharp or anything. It'll scratch the back of the screen. So that's always a concern. And the most important thing to me is the audio, though, because when you're doing videos like this, if the autofocus is if the shot is a little out of focus, or it's just a little bit out of frame or something like that, you can get by with that pretty much. But if the audio is bad, or there's no audio, even worse, there's no coming back from it. I mean, you basically wasted your whole time. So the audio and being able to see if the audio is functioning and in where it's supposed to be is the most important thing for me, as to why I have a flip screen. And one of the things that frustrates me a lot about some of my other cameras is when I go into portrait orientation and I'm using sunglasses, screen goes black. So I'm going to try that right now and see what it does. The screen goes black when you put it into portrait orientation. I can confirm that. That's kind of a bummer because it's a huge pain in the butt to be readjusting your sunglasses or taking them on and off all the time, depending on what orientation you want your camera. Kind of a bummer. I guess I'll go ahead and end the video right there. They're having a big bike race downtown. I wanted to go take some photographs down there, and like a little street photography or whatnot. I'm just a little apprehensive about taking photos of people I don't know, like street photography or whatever, so I don't think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to end it right there. Nice little look at the X-T5 and what it can do with the video. I don't know. Just mess around today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.